Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to another midlife power shift. My name is Dr. Fiona, and today we are getting into the nitty gritty a little bit as it relates to fueling your leadership in midlife and perimenopause using nutrition. So let's get started. How are you all doing? As you are joining live on the replay, I'd love to hear from you in the chat. So let me know where you're joining from and some key takeaways. And I do have some other polls for you to look at and respond to in the chat. So, we are talking about nutrition. I have a question for you. What if the right foods could help you think sharper, lead with confidence, and sustain your energy throughout the day? What if? And so that's what we will be focusing on. I want to remind us as we're thinking about midlife and those of us who are about to start perimenopause, think we may have started perimenopause or have actually started perimenopause and know that we started perimenopause. Um, it's more than just hot flashes. And so I'll be on from time to time, once a week, making sure that we understand that it's more than hot flashes and we know how to navigate the entire journey that is perimenopause and midlife with grace and ease. So, a little bit about me. I am an integrative nutrition and wellness expert, registered dietitian, public health leader, and workplace wellness strategist. So, I do workshops, webinars, seminars, cooking classes as it relates to women's health, and also as it relates to prevention and even curing of chronic illnesses with the emphasis on the nutrition portion, but also integrating other lifestyle behaviors to leverage those behaviors and habits to help us be well at home, where we work, where we play, where we pray, where we learn, and all the places where we just get to be, but we need to be well. So, a passion of mine and why I got into this perimenopause journey, flipped my company just a little bit or added a little bit of emphasis in terms of women's health and midlife is because I am a midlife woman in women's health, experiencing same menopause, transition, perimenopause symptoms, and having to navigate them myself and using all that I bring to the table with my 17 years of expertise as a registered dietitian, doctor of public health, professionally trained plant-based chef, and all the other things to leverage those things to help and support midlife women so that we can stay well and lead well and love well and live well. So by the end of this session, you will understand what is happening. What are some of the changes that are happening to your body? So we're going to level set a little bit. I'm not going to assume that we all understand what is happening in our bodies as we are in midlife and we're transitioning to menopause, aka perimenopause. If you think that you are too young to know about this, I would like to challenge that thinking. If you are going to get there one day, then it's never too early to start learning so that you can be prepared. And that's one of the things that I teach. When I teach younger groups, we learn so that we can prepare. So, we're going to talk a little bit about some of the eating patterns that would be helpful in terms of leveraging your nutrition so that that could support the energy and the focus and all that you'll need to show up in your leadership roles. We'll also talk about gaining confidence. Hopefully, not hopefully, I know for sure that by the end of this talk, you will have gained the confidence you need to navigate this journey with ease. And if you feel like you need some support and help, please message me, and I'd love to sit with you and develop some strategies to help support you. And then, because the way I do things, when I share something with you, my expectation is that you take one thing, one nugget, one key takeaway that you will actually put in place and implement. So let's go ahead and keep on moving. So here is the poll. This is where I need your participation, your engagement, your responses, whether you are on the replay or you are on the live with me. I need you to tell me, how can I, with my expertise and my skill set, how can I support you and your organization in this journey? Then and you can use self in the chat with numbers. How can I help you? Is it one-on-one coaching? Do you want to do the group coaching and accountability? Do you want to come to a live intensive course in person where we talk about the strategies? What do you need to get this journey well? And then for organization, and you have members would need support as this, what kind of support would you need if you are a leader in an organization and you bring in a consultant like myself? So put the numbers in the chat, please. You can use multiple numbers and to reach out to me individually. I can definitely set up a call. Let's get to going on. So one of the things I love to share and say, one of my favorite phrases for this season of life, and some of you have heard me say it already, this is not that. So ages 1 to 39 looks very differently than above. So before we were 40, this. Now that we're that. And so this does not. So let's talk about that. It's very, very important for us to have the awareness about our bodies and what is happening to our bodies so that we can respond with the appropriate strategies. So you all are leaders. You all your life. You get data. You get awareness, and then you make decisions, right? You get information, you make decisions. It's the same thing with our bodies. Let's look at what's happening in our bodies and what we should expect if you haven't gotten there yet, or if you're not sure, you're going to get some clarity now. So several things are happening when we are over 40. So number one, the hormone shifts. We pretty much, most of us know that in one variation or another. So the estrogen, progesterone declining. Also the testosterone is declining, so that affects, or fluctuating, and that affects our muscle mass. So there's decline in muscle mass. That affects our libido, believe it or not, and also our energy levels. And then with the changes of estrogen and progesterone level, that affects the way our cycles fluctuate, and then eventually we get to no more cycles, and that's officially menopause. So also there are metabolic changes that we experience as women as we approach 40, and then we're over 40. And I'm sharing this again, not to overwhelm, not to discourage you. I'm sharing this because I need you to understand what is happening in your body so that you have the information, you know how to respond appropriately with the appropriate strategies, just as you would do in your leadership role. So, slow metabolism, insulin resistance. So there's an increased risk for insulin resistance, which means we don't have to be diabetic, but our blood sugars will tend to be a little bit higher. And so that would increase risk for higher blood sugars, not associated necessarily with diabetes. And so that increased blood sugar levels and insulin resistance is what's contributing to that FUPA, right? So you wondering why this FUPA is happening? Well, FUPA is happening because there may be some concerns around blood sugar, not independent of being a diabetic. It's just a metabolic change. So body composition. So we notice again that our muscle strength is declining. So we need to be doing some more strength training. It's called sarcopenia. That's the medical term. And then fat storage in our midsection, aka fupa. Again, hormone changes, shifts in body composition. Then bone and joint health. So estrogen is actually helpful with bone, maintaining bone density, but as the estrogen levels decline, then so our bone, there's some bone loss there that happens with it. So that increases the risk for osteoporosis. And so then the joint stiffness, because of the loss of collagen, we feel there's some stiffness and some mobility issues, which we can also remedy with not only nutrition, but stretching and some other lifestyle-based modalities. Skin changes. So we may have noticed that our skin is thinner, drier. Again, that's because of the collagen loss, and that's where we get those wrinkles from. Hair may be thinning or increased facial hair. Then cardiovascular health. So estrogen is protective. So think about it. Estrogen is protective in terms of protecting our heart health, heart and blood vessels. But as estrogen declines, then that becomes a problem. So there's an increased risk for, we say, cardiovascular, so heart and blood vessel disease, and that would show up, or illness. So that would show up as higher levels of cholesterol and even increased blood pressure. Estrogen plays a very, very big role. It goes beyond just reproduction. So hopefully this is giving you some food for thought in terms of the role of estrogen, and now that it's declining in your body and some of the other fluctuation in hormones, how this all affects your body, how this all affects your well-being and your health overall. So think about those things. And so let's keep on going. What else is happening as we are getting to 40 and above? Cognition. So because estrogen, again, plays a role in our cognition, our ability to remember, focus, right? So as the estrogen levels are declining, we may have trouble remembering things, focusing, and even have what we describe as brain fog. So just so you know, if you do not know, there are about 34 different symptoms that are described as part of the perimenopause experience. Again, I share this with you not in a negative way, not for you to be overwhelmed or get down, but really to show you or give you the information so that you're able to act with the right strategies. Mood swings. So we see the memes about perimenopause, right? So increased risk of anxiety and depression due to hormone imbalances. So that is a thing. Hormones are changing, and so that affects our mood, affects our cognition and our sleep. And I've had conversations or did lives with some of my colleagues from the Atlanta Black Chamber, and during Sleep Awareness Week, we talked about the difference between sleep and rest, and we talked about sleep hygiene. I believe that was 2 weeks ago. Time is just moving so fast. Either it was last week, no, it was 2 weeks ago. So you can go back and watch that, and if you need the link to those talks, I can certainly give them to you. So the reason why we're having this sleep disruption in this phase of life is because of those vasomotor symptoms, so the hot flashes and the night sweat, and then there's some shifts in our melatonin levels, and then low energy and fatigue because of the declining hormones and combination with poor sleep. And the last two, in terms of how our body changes when we are 40 and above. So digestion slows down. So if you're feeling bloated and constipated and uncomfortable, then and you've never had those experiences before, our digestion slows down. And also, there's a shift in our gut microbiome. Estrogen plays a role in that as well. And so that also affects the way we digest food and metabolize food. So you may would at some point before you were 40 or before you hit midlife, you could have eaten a certain kind of way. Um, your body metabolized food and you had no problems, and now you find yourself bloating, constant other GI concern. And so I want to remind you that not that, right? So you will need to be paying attention, and there's certain things that we can do in terms of strategy. When I say you need to be paying attention, the part of the midlife journey, especially when life, is to really pay attention to what has changed or what is changing, so that it's almost like you spend all those years and you pretty much learned yourself. You understood the system of yourself. You developed a system for your life. You optimized your life. You had your routines and your workout, your sleep, all those things worked. And all of a sudden, or maybe not all of a sudden, but then you get to midlife, and that system that you optimize of you, right, to keep yourself well and all those things, that system actually needs some fine tuning to a different season. And so it's a call to be self aware. I hope that you think about, and it's my job to help you think about your journey as one that is positive and filled with opportunity. So part of the opportunity is for you to relearn yourself and what makes you work, optimize your life in midlife. And we'll talk about optimization in a few weeks. So sexual wellness, we've heard, we've seen, we've had discussion in terms of our vaginal dryness and what we call vaginal atrophy, which is like uh, the thinning of the walls and the concerns there. And then there's libido fluctuation. So the changes that I just shared with you can actually be handled by um, lifestyle to a certain point. And of course, there is the hormone therapy piece and there's a medical piece. So certainly, please, if you haven't already done so, get with your medical team and make sure a dietitian is included, a registered dietitian like myself is included, that helps support you in this journey. But all the bullet points, except for the last one, those are lifestyle based strategies, right? We would customize them for you, right? But in the end, they're based on your lifestyle routines and choices and habits. So we make small tweaks or large tweaks depending on what's going on. So I wanted to stop here because that may have been a lot. And again, I want you to remain optimistic and hopeful and be in a positive place in terms of your midlife journey. I want to celebrate you here to remind you that you are already winning. Why? Because regardless of what age you are, over 40, to some degree, you have already exercised, you've already eaten health supportive foods, you've already engaged in stress management, you've already done the things that I mentioned in this slide to some degree, right? And gotten some degree of success. So you're already winning because you have that under your belt. That's the beauty of midlife. You're not starting from scratch. You're just, and the L is there, you're just leveraging what you already have and what you already know to take you and support you throughout your midlife journey. I'm going to pause there to remind you that you are already winning because you already know. You just need someone, perhaps, or a resource, another type of resource besides someone like myself, or a combination thereof to help you leverage what you already know and what you've already mastered. Don't forget that. You're already winning in midlife. So, we will be talking now in terms of nutrition. We're going to focus on how these particular eating patterns are never called, try not to call them diets because in our popular culture, diets tend to be um, fads. And so they tend to be the things or resources that we use periodically. We get on a diet and we get off a diet. And these approaches may be a bit more, I chose them because they're a bit more sustainable, right? So they can become a way of living, and we include them, integrate them to whatever degree we need to or we would like to, as opposed to we get on Mediterranean, we get off. So these are eating patterns. And so on the top it says eating should be pleasurable and health supportive. So that is my very basic approach. I have more to say, but for the point of brevity, that's my very basic approach philosophy to eating. So I'm not one for getting on and off diets. I'll support you if you want me to, so that you're safe. But at the end of the day, my approach to eating, my eating philosophy can be distilled down to this simple sentence: eating should be pleasurable and supportive. So we're going to be talking about these six eating patterns and their relationship to perimenopause, leadership, midlife. So let's get into it. Before we do that, I want to remind you that you do not have to do this alone, that this journey does not have to be you alone trying to figure it out. So I actually created a journal. Super excited. I'll keep sharing and telling you guys. I'll put the link in the chat. But I created a 12-week journal. I have it with me here. The author's copy. A 12-week journal where you establish your weekly goals and you do symptom tracking every day for 12 weeks. Part of the journey, especially in the beginning, is being so in tune with yourself, so in tune with your body that you know your patterns, you know and recognize patterns, you know what is happening in your body so that you can take the appropriate action and implement the appropriate strategies. So the symptom tracker has hot flashes, mood swings. There's a scale for the mood swings and mood fluctuations, sleep quality, brain fog, like the level of severity, the ability to be able to concentrate, the level of severity. Talks about, gives you a little bit of section here to track your food and your intake. So there's a little diet eating tracker here, foods and beverages, physical activity, Kegel tracking, right? Libido tracking, mood and emotional health tracking, self-care activities. So the trackers, you do it every day. So number one, you're able to study yourself, but number two, then you're able to implement the strategies and see the patterns change over time. So that is the tracker that I created for you, beautiful people. And then I also want to share with you, I do have a group coaching program, group and accountability, wellness. So this specific, not only nutrition, but other areas of your perimenopause journey that you may need support with. I have a online course that I created, and we would use that course to develop strategies in our group. I'll talk a little bit more about that in the end, but just so you know, I do have a group coaching program. Um, it's open right now. I'll share some more. I'll be doing some webinars to share some more about the group coaching program, and we will be closing cards soon. So make sure you ask me about that if that's something you're interested in. So let's talk about intermittent fasting. Intermittent fasting. So we're power shifting. This may or may not be for you. So remember, this is not. These are suggestions or ideas for you to take control of the way you nourish your body, so that you're supporting yourself in terms of your leadership and the way that you show up in other areas of life. So these are ideas, and I'm going high level because we can spend a lot of time in the weeds with each particular eating pattern, giving you high level, giving you enough. If you have specific questions, you want to jump on a call, you want to do one-on-one coaching, the group, be part of the group and accountability, to be part of the accountability and group coaching program, then we can get in the weeds. So let's get to this intermittent fasting. So it's an eating pattern that focuses on time when you eat, the window of time that you eat. It's not necessarily focused on the types of food, although that is important, and I will mention that towards the end. It's a structured eating pattern in terms of the window of time you eat. So the most common is that you fast for 16 hours and you eat for 8 hours. Then the easiest one to start is you fast for 14 and then you eat for 10. And then there's some people who don't focus necessarily on time, but they focus on days. So they eat normally for 5 days and then they restrict calories for 2 days. And so this is why I believe that you should think about this if you haven't already. And if you've tried this and you've had some success or even challenges, please put it in the chat. Let me know. I'd love to hear and see. So in consideration for perimenopause, leadership, midlife, helps to regulate your hormones. So we talked about the insulin sensitivity risk as we are in midlife, the increased risk for insulin insensitivity rather. And so it helps to reduce the blood sugar spikes. It helps with cognition. So we need to show up as leaders, high performing with our cognition, our brain on all cylinders, right? So intermittent fasting could also help with cognitive performance. So let me say also this again, this is not for everyone. So what I'm sharing, you still would need to evaluate, spend time with a registered dietitian, spend time with your primary care provider, determining, and more so a registered dietitian than anything else, but a primary care provider, looking at your medical history and other things to make sure that this is safe for you. So also helps to enhance our metabolism and where there's weight gain, right? So it helps to manage weight as well as because we're eating in a certain window of time, it may be helpful to avoid those crashes in the afternoon, the mid-afternoon, so that we can maintain that peak performance in our leadership roles. And so this is a sample of 16-8. So from 8 to 12 is more so like hydrating. And I would caution you on the caffeinated beverages, right? Hydrate well, because the ones that dehydrate, the ones with the caffeination, may work against you when it comes to the hot flashes. So we want to choose beverages that are going to hydrate us well. And then from 12 to 8, that's the eating window. And you can eat, again, this is focused on time, but what you eat in that window does also matter. So you're wanting to choose health supportive foods for yourself during that time. So we're not just eating anything, in other words, from 12 to 8 p.m. Okay. So, how to start? The easiest way to start is to fast for 12 and eat in a 12-hour window. And again, when the eating window is not that you're eating for 8 hours or you're eating for 12 hours, is that that's the time frame you pick to eat your meals and snacks. And you determine, again, how many meals and snacks you want to eat in those windows. But the point is that there's a time when you fast and there's a time when you have to eat. So you want to try this gradually. That's why you start with 12 and 12. When you start, make sure you are monitoring how you're feeling. And again, in the eating window, the time that you're eating, make sure that you are using and eating meals and snacks, beverages that are health supportive, nutrient dense. So they are what we call contraindications. And again, consult your registered dietitian or your provider, primary care provider, to make sure that it is okay, or whatever provider you prefer to connect with who has that expertise, make sure that is okay. So this is a list of some of the people who may not qualify for this, should not consider this type of eating pattern. So make sure you do your due diligence before you try intermittent fasting. So let's move on. We are moving on to power shifting with nutrition. We're talking about the Mediterranean eating pattern. It's very popular, right? Very popular. And it's planned forward. We know that healthy fats, lean protein, whole grains, and it's based on eating from those eating patterns in those countries. So here is why it is a good idea for you to consider, if you haven't considered the Mediterranean eating pattern or some variations of it, or just eating some foods from it if you're not going to go all in, because the foods tend to be rich in omega-3s, which will support your cognition, heart health. The foods will help to support your heart health. So we talked about the increased risk of cardiovascular illness, and disease conditions when the estrogen starts declining, right? So we want to make sure that we are considering some sort of plan forward Mediterranean type or otherwise, as I'll show you, eating pattern that is heart health protective. So Mediterranean will help to protect your heart and your blood vessels. So translation helps you with cholesterol levels, healthy cholesterol levels and healthy blood vessels. How does that translate? Blood pressure, healthy blood pressure, or healthy levels of blood pressure. Blood sugar stability, that because it tends to be higher in fiber and good source of lean proteins. And then bone health also helps to improve bone mineral density. So I wanted to, for a few of these, I wanted to show you a quick one day, what this one day eating pattern would look like. And so here we have it. So for the Mediterranean eating pattern, this is what one day would look like. And so I also wanted to talk about what do you do if you're from a different region, or your culture or your tradition is not Mediterranean type, right? So what do you do? So what if you're Afro-Caribbean, or you're African, you represent some part of the African diaspora? Make sure you are just switching things out. So for instance, at lunch, instead of doing the quinoa tabbouleh, peas and rice and peas, whichever part of the Caribbean you're from, just put it in there. Whatever part of the Caribbean you're from, I'm from Guyana. We eat baigan choka. So at dinner, baigan choka is actually probably the closest equivalent to roasted eggplant, because it's just roasted eggplants with some spices, some Indian spices. So please don't think that you have to eat and abandon your culture and your traditions. Just do the swap out. A grain, a whole grain for a whole grain. A whole grain in your culture that is in your culture versus a whole grain in the Mediterranean diet. So, like, these are some grains that you find in different regions of the continent. So, you could just switch that out instead, right? Instead of quinoa, millet, fonio, right? So please think like that. I'm very big proponent for meeting you where you are and also celebrating your culture and tradition to help you support, to help you meet your health goals. So then we're switching on to the anti-inflammatory eating pattern. And so what is it? It just focuses on reducing chronic inflammation, which is part of um, the process of this perimenopause. So chronic inflammation is part of any sort of process where we see signs and symptoms that we need to add strategy to help to correct, right? So chronic inflammation is part of what we'll see in the menopause transition, and to help to address that, the anti-inflammatory eating pattern is rich in fiber, antioxidants, anti-inflammatory herbs and spices. And so I gave examples there, like the turmeric, the ginger, the garlic, the cinnamon. So the warm spices, the rosemary. So foods, I'm a professionally trained plant-based chef. So I would love, love, love to get with y'all and do some cooking around supporting you in perimenopause and in midlife. We would have so much fun. Just saying. So, why is this good for perimenopause and how you show up in your leadership roles and every other place that you need to show up well? So, anti-inflammation, so reduces the joint pain and the brain fog with the omega-3s, as well as just other foods, right? And I don't want to get into the chemistry of what's in the spices, but definitely will help with joint reduction. That's why we use turmeric, curcumin, and the turmeric and all those bioactive compounds that help us. Then also anti-inflammatory will help to boost the mood, because there's a gut brain connection, and part of that is part of the impact of our gut and maintaining good gut health is that it also impacts our mood. So the anti-inflammatory eating pattern will help with that. And then it supports weight management, right? And hormone balance. So this is an example of one day eating plan for that. So we have the chia pudding and coconut milk. You see all those things. And again, my emphasis here is on the culture. So where you see veggies, greens, if you don't like kale, but you need to swap it out for a green, right? Then you can do some callaloo, right? Or a different kind of vegetable. You can do some okra, and this is more like the stewed okra. So for those of us, it's not the deep fried okra, because then we would not get the health benefits from the okra. So the stewed okra, there are ways to prepare it so it's not as slimy. And then I have some information here about if you were from the West African region, and doing like a tomato-based stew and some corn fufu. So again, eat for pleasure, eat to support your health, and eat to celebrate your culture. So, again, I wanted to remind you that you do not have to do this alone. If you are interested in getting more support in the group setting, groups work well because we create great community and communities in groups, and then we're able to also tap into the accountability and the creativity that happens in the group. So this is a reminder, I do have a group coaching program that I have launched, and I will soft launch, and I will officially launch in a few weeks. Um, Reach out to me so that we can have that conversation and you can get in before the group coaching program fills up. Again, need to remind you that part of this journey is to, number one, study yourself and know yourself, because this is not that. So where you are now in life and how your body works now is not how it used to work, and you do need to make some adjustments. This resource available on Amazon, I will put the link in the chat. It is a 12-week journal that helps you to track everything from libido to mood, to brain fog, all of the typical symptoms, so that over time you can see patterns, and over time you can implement strategies, and over time you can see how you have improved with those strategies, which strategies worked, which strategies didn't. And then there's the hormone balance eating pattern. And so one of the things I want you to notice is that all these eating patterns that I'm suggesting to you, they're all very plant forward. So what I did not say is that they're vegan. They're not vegan now. So nobody's trying to make you a vegan if you don't want to be a vegan, right? But they do focus heavily on plants, on fresh produce, right? So that's the case also with the hormone balance. Basically, it focuses on foods that are rich in phytoestrogen. So that's the plant version of estrogen. And the research has shown that this is an approach that helps really well in terms of balancing hormones. So phytoestrogen foods and fiber-rich foods, which are not one and the same, but a lot of the foods there you get the same benefits, but not all. Some foods are rich in phytoestrogen than others, but most of the foods are rich in fiber, if not all. So this, and I say may, again, I'm sharing these different eating patterns in the hopes that you will try one at a time, or try something from each, so that you can see the effect. So every woman's perimenopause journey, menopause transition journey is different. So therefore, I may use the word may because it's not necessarily 100% guaranteed for every woman. We're all different. Every woman's symptoms, set of symptoms, response to therapy, hormone therapy, and other modalities, lifestyle modalities, it's going to be different. So that's why I use the word may. So it may regulate your estrogen fluctuations that are common in perimenopause. So, in terms of why this is, I'm sharing this with you because it will help again to address the symptoms, right? Your perimenopause symptoms. It will help to support your adrenal function. And so, if you don't know, those adrenal glands sitting on your kidneys, the little adrenal glands. So it helps with metabolism. It helps with immune. And when I say it helps, those glands, adrenal glands, secrete hormones that help with metabolism, immune, blood pressure, and your response to stress. So we talked about how our bodies change in terms of stress and mood, blood pressure, and even metabolism. So we want to keep the adrenal glands healthy by eating well, so that we can combat some of those changes that we are experiencing as we transition to menopause. And then this particular hormone eating pattern, hormone regulating eating pattern, helps to regulate mood and sleep. And again, I'm sharing this at a very high level because each particular eating pattern has so much detail that we could go on and on and on. And there's a time and a place for that. If you need me to do a master class, you tell me in the chat. I'll come to your master class. I'll come to your in-person workshop or cooking class so that we can go in the weeds with these eating patterns and also cook so that I understand how to cook and support myself based on these eating patterns. I am certainly welcome to do that. Again, this is high level to get you to think so that you can take your next step in terms of action. And so there's a book written by a physician, combines some of the principles from the other eating patterns that I suggested. It's called Galveston. This is the Galveston eating pattern. And so let's a little bit of it. So this is Dr. Haver, and its focus combines intermittent fasting, anti-inflammatory foods, and healthy fats, which is a little bit of Mediterranean. So it's a combination of some of what I just shared with you previously. And it helps in terms of your perimenopause journey, leadership, helps to reduce belly fat and insulin resistance, and supports brain health, cognition, focus, enhances energy and metabolism. So those are some of the eating patterns. So the last one I wanted to share, and you can certainly go on and look into a little bit more. There's a book, like I mentioned, she's written a book about the Galveston eating pattern and its benefits for women over 40. So the Whole30, you may have heard of this one. This is an eating pattern again. And basically it combines once more um, some of the other eating patterns that I've just suggested to you or shared with you. And it's more so of an elimination eating pattern. They call it a diet, but it's more so of an elimination eating pattern where you removed processed foods over a 30-day period and see how your body responds. So that may be something that you need to consider. And so it could be a combination of eliminating processed foods for 30 days while adding some of those anti-inflammatory foods. So why is this helpful? It helps you to identify food sensitivities. A lot of women report that over 40, they start noticing that they're sensitive to certain foods they were not sensitive to before they began their perimenopause journey. It helps to reset cravings and also helps with energy metabolism, as well as support gut health and digestion. The only thing I would say is it removes processed foods, grains, dairy, and legumes. So the grains, the dairies, and the legumes, I am not necessarily in favor of removing, right? Especially the legumes and the grains, understanding that they are, along with dairy, they're good sources of nutrients that you do need. So I would more focus on the processed foods portion of this, as opposed to eliminating food groups that actually have beneficial health supportive effects on our body. So here's the poll again. The poll is asking you, how can I support you in your journey? Do you need me to do one-on-one coaching? Do you need me to support you in terms of group coaching, wellness coaching, and accountability, so that we harness and we gather and we leverage the positive things that happens when we are in groups, the support, the encouragement, the accountability. Do you need a master class? Do you want to do a virtual or an in-person series of culinary nutrition classes where we actually put into action what I've just shared with you in terms of these eating patterns. You need a book. Online course. I have an online course, as I mentioned. It's already there. There are about 9 or 10 modules, and we go bit by bit in terms of different aspects of your perimenopause journey, how to speak to your provider, preparing for that, the nutrition piece, the physical activity piece, and this is all integrative nutrition and wellness, the stress management piece, the weight management piece. So there's a course that I already created for you. Or if you need something else, let me know. I'm more than happy to bring that to pass if you and your tribe, your organization would like that. And again, in terms of if you are watching this and you are a leader in an organization, and you know that this is something that your team could use, especially with Women's Health Month coming up in May, then certainly reach out to me and I would love to have a chat with you and see how best I can support your team who needs this information and this type of empowerment. So I'm going to share with you Baddies Over 40 Unite. This is the group coaching project. There is a specific open and close date, so I don't want you to miss the open and close date. So I've already soft launched. I will be launching officially in a few weeks with some webinars, which I will share at that time. But let's get into it. What is it about? So it's group coaching, group health and wellness coaching, right? It is an opportunity. Last week I shared this talk for last week. We talked about the different forms of rest and the fact that rest is actually a strategy, particularly a leadership strategy. And there were 7 types of rest, one being creative rest. And so this project taps into your ability to rest by being creative so that that will feed other areas of your life, including your leadership. So I'll tell you a little bit more about that. So this will help to feed your personal brand, your career. So part of the project is not only we spend time in the group doing wellness coaching, wellness strategies, wellness accountability, whether it's nutrition or some other strategy that I will share with you. We'll spend several months doing that, right? Between the close of cart and October 17th, we'll spend time doing that with the wellness coaching together. But also you have the opportunity to write. If you're wanting to be a writer, you've had dreams to be a writer, to be an author, to be a published author, you have the opportunity to be part of a collaborative book. So I'm putting together a collaborative book where we talk about our individual over 40 stories, and they're empowering stories, things that we've learned, things we want to share that will empower future generations and other women who are like us. So again, the group coaching program is designed to help you navigate and lead well, right? So help you reclaim your health and your energy as you hit midlife and you're like, oh my gosh, this is a lot. I need some help. I need some support. My health and well-being is not the way it used to be. That's what we'll be working on in terms of the health and well-being. Helps you to clarify and think about your career and your leadership path. Helps you to build, again, health and wellness, midlife routine. And then there is the creation of community and support, and helping you to set realistic expectations for your health and well-being. So not only do you, and here's the list of all the things that you will get: the wellness coaching, being part of the collaborative book, and then taking the time to craft that story so that you can share it on stage on October 17th at my inaugural Pericon ATL Summit, where it's all things perimenopause, all things supporting and empowering perimenopause, our perimenopause journey. So you get all of that. It'll help you to also expand your network and build sisterhood and get some support for your journey. Who's it for? Professional women. Um, Whether you have a leadership role or not, you're a professional woman, you're a woman over 40, and you see the benefit in this in terms of your career or your personal development. Some of us have had on our vision board or our wish list, our bucket list, that we wanted to publish a book, but we have not yet done it. So this is a way to start moving in stages to do that. This is to get your feet wet. There's some of us who have talked about or have on our bucket list, our wish list, our vision board, that we want to be a speaker. We want to engage in more public speaking. So this is your opportunity to do that as well. And again, this is your opportunity to lean into your health and wellness and resetting it and gaining strategies that will help to set you up for success as you travel along midlife. So I would love to hear from you. So let me know. This is the QR code for the group coaching program, Baddies Over 40 Unite. So that brings me to the end of our talk. It was great. I took my time with this one because there is so much and to share with you. I didn't even share everything, right? But I will come back next week and do part 2, give you some more options in terms of leveraging your nutrition to empower and fuel you for success in your leadership roles and other areas of your life. So y'all take care. Give me some feedback, answer the poll, message me, ask me questions. I would love to respond and engage with you. Take good care.